Hello, shalom, my friends. Shalom, my enemies, too. This is our old pal, Rabbi Sol Solomon, the founder and spiritual leader of Temple Sons of Bitches in Great Neck, New York. In fact, I want to call myself Rabbi Sol Great Neck Solomon in honor of the playwright that we have in front of us, because he has a very unusual middle name. He's not just Bill Downs or William Downs. He's William Missouri Downs. So we want to ask him about that. Also about the 3 novels or 4 novels that he's written. Also about his many, many plays. Also, he's directing a play as we speak by his missus. So much to talk about, including his very, very deep, dark thoughts about where artificial intelligence is taking all of humanity, let alone art. So, ladies and gentlemen, won't you please welcome and bid shalom to William Missouri Downs. Shalom!
Shalom!
Oh,
yes.
Good. Get the shouting back and forth. It's
okay, I'm shouting. Yes, I guess I'm not good at that. But it's a joy to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're not good at it because you're not Jewish. What are you, by the way? What is your religious affiliation?
I discovered that I am of Jewish heritage. Yes. I found out by accident. I changed my name many, many years ago. And I was in a library and they called out my name. And I went, who knows I'm here? Walked up and another person walked up just then and said my name. And he turned to me and I turned to him. It was a very rare German Jewish name. And we started talking and he said, you're from the other side of the family. And I said, what are you talking about? He says, 2 brothers came over from Germany just before World War I.
World War I, yeah.
One gave up his Jewishness and anglicized his name. The other kept his Jewish pronunciation and remained Jewish. He was from the Jewish side of the family. And I looked at him and I went, I'm Jewish? And he said, yeah, you are. And I went, I did not know this. And it was never mentioned in my family. And it was strange because I had written a number of plays with Jewish characters.
Right. I was going to bring that. I forget.
Yes.
Yes. I can't find the one that I wrote down, but yes.
So no, I am not practicing in any way, shape, or form, but I have some blood in me.
So was it just like, oh my God, or what did that start you on a procession of soul searching and going through your family archives and history and your own personal belief system, or it was just like a shock and then you got over it?
It was a shock, and I still this happened almost a decade, 15 years ago, and I'm still processing. And it was just odd that I had written plays like Kosher Lutherans and Dead White Males that had a major Jewish character in it, and that was all done before I found out. So it's just sort of my family, blew up and went in 1,000 different directions, and they've all passed now. So I don't have anybody really to sit down and talk to about it. So I just sort of.
Well, you didn't keep in touch with the guy you saw at the thing who told you in the first place and trade emails? No. Oh.
I tried to, but his wife answered the phone. And then she said they had a son with my name and he died. And so the father couldn't face me. But my humor is, years ago, I was standing in a food market and the phone rang. And this woman was a thick German accent was on the other side. And she said, hello, we want to produce your play. And it was from Vienna, of all things. And I went, okay, who is this? What is this? This is not good. And then she said, your humor is very Jewish. Are you Jewish? And I went, no. And I handed it over to my wife. I said, I don't know what this is, but no, this someone with a German accent is asking me if I'm German, if I'm Jewish. And she took down the information, and it turned out it was a legitimate offer. I flew to Vienna. They did a comedy of mine in German. They did it well. Germans laughed. They actually,
you don't hear that Germans. Often, Germans laugh, except when at piles of dead Jews, Germans laugh. But living Jews, they don't laugh so much. Yeah.
Well, I went in and they said, you have to be in the curtain call. It's about a 300-seat theater in downtown Vienna. And I said, no, 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 you don't understand. Playwrights sit in the back and drink. We're not in curtain call. She said, well, that's how we do it here. And I said, no, 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 no. Opening night, the playwrights in the curtain call. And I went, no, 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 I've refused to do it, right? Well, because I just couldn't. I'm not an onstage person. Well, I went over into the theater and they sat me in the worst possible seat right against the wall of this theater. And I thought, oh, okay, they don't like me because I said no. Well, the production was one of the best productions I've ever had. I was thrilled with it. And as the curtain call started, I heard a clunk and I looked and the wall beside me opened in a tiny little hatch. And there was the stage manager with headsets on, and she went,
Wow.
and I climbed through the wall of the theater, went down a little secret passage, went backstage, and I was in the second and fourth curtain calls.
You gotta take if you're gonna get
I
all these
know.
lumps and all these rejections as a playwright,
Yeah.
a director, and everything else, you might as well take the curtain calls and the bows when they come. You know?
Yes, yes, yes. I'm still shy about it, but it was a marvelous memory and still one of the best productions I've ever had. And I swear it was in German. I could understand it.
Well,
I
I
could
don't know. So
understand
you
it.
know what's going on, even though it's so.
Yeah.
Let me ask you though. Speaking of names, you didn't tell us what your actual Jewish name is.
I never say it. It's just I what can I say? Um I I didn't get along with my father. I did not get along with my father,
Right.
and I had his name, and so I moved on 30 years ago and went. You know what? I just don't want to go there. But yeah, so
Right.
it's one of those things, I had the typical playwright's childhood. What's the old Rodney Dangerfield joke? You look up. You look up something in the dictionary and there's a picture of me. Well, if you look up, tragic playwright's childhood, there's a picture of me, and it was just filled with violence and horrible things that were happening. And so I've been trying desperately to write my way out of that for years now. And sometimes I
Does it work?
succeed.
Is there catharsis in? First of all, you write a
Yes.
lot of comedies, so I'm wondering if that's a reaction or you're an avoidance. But just is the writing pulling you out of the horror that you lived with as a kid?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Because what can I say? When I was a kid, the only way I could get out of situations was to make my parents laugh. And I wasn't going to be beaten that day, if they were laughing. Yeah, oh yeah, it was terrible. My father used to come into my bedroom at 2 in the morning with a sawed-off shotgun, okay, and put it in his lap and wake me up and say, "I'm going to kill myself. Talk me out of it." I'm like 12 years old, and I'm going, "Oh, okay, let's have a therapy session.
Or okay, you go ahead, Dad. Not gonna miss you much. Put the
If
toe
I was
on the
smart.
trigger.
But you're when you're 12 years old, it's the only dad you got.
And where was your mom? Was your mom also abusive, or was she just harried and scared,
No,
or what the hell? No.
scared and beaten. Yeah, it was not a. It was a very frightening time. But comedy is what got me out of it. And so I began. When I was an actor, I was best at acting in comedies. And now, vast majority, 99% of what I write is humorous or comedy. And I think it's the only way to get through life is to laugh your way through it
This
and
I agree. It was laugh and scream, which is
laugh
the
and
two
scream,
things I do
laugh
all
and
the time.
scream,
Laugh
hopefully at
and
the same
scream.
time.
By the way,
Yeah, but
before I forget, we're talking with William
yeah,
Missoura. Now, someone who chose a new name. I get
yes.
William, nice Americanish, non-Jewy
Mhm.
name. Downs, all right, it's a little close to the syndrome, but otherwise it's a good. But where did Missouri come from?
Well, I was trying to come up with something, and my wife, her great grandmother was a Cherokee Indian, and she was on a reservation, and the census takers came around, And they gave her a list of last names because she only had the name Sandal. Isn't that a beautiful name? Sandal.
Yeah.
And they said, you have to have a last name. And they presented Indians with like names, lists of names. And the first name on the list was Downs. So she became Sandal on a reservation in Missouri, Downs. Sandal, Missouri, Downs. She married a Baptist missionary, moved to Alabama, and had 97,000 children. And get this, I found her grave in an abandoned graveyard, and she kept her name in marriage. She died in 1905, and she kept her name.
Wow.
She didn't take her husband's name. And so I knelt down on this abandoned graveyard, and I basically asked permission to have her name. And no squirrels attacked me or anything, so I figured it was okay.
Right. No squirrels, no groundhogs, no lynxes prowling about.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's been so long that it just becomes part of you. And I always say, don't be yourself. All of this crap we hear now about be yourself, be yourself. I think that's BS. I think you create yourself. If I had to be myself, I would be an emotional basket case. All right. So I created myself, and it took 35 years now that I've had that name, but suddenly it became me.
Well,
So
did you
I'm one of
have?
the best.
We'll get more to the art and the creativity and what you're directing and all that. But did
Yeah.
you, in addition to the writing, did you go through years and years and years of therapy, or
No,
really you pulled? I mean, come on, what a life!
I was a poor playwright living in a transient hotel. I never could afford a therapist. Writing became my therapy, and I do believe writing is therapy. Um, you know, uh, I've written numerous plays about fathers, and you know what they do in it? They say the words my father never said to me. By the way, he died last year at 98 years old. Yeah, last surviving member. And I wrote the words, and he said it to me numerous times. The words the real man never said, I love you.
Right. He never
And
said it
that,
ever. But you
ever,
kept in touch with him. Or you just
I,
heard somewhere that he's dropping dead.
I took care of him to his dying day.
May I ask why?
I need therapy, I guess. I really don't know why. Um, I, I just simply, I took my mother died 25 years ago, and I took care of him for 20 years, taking him out to breakfast twice a week and listening to some stories he told to me. I worked out that there were stories that he told me about his genius that he told over 1,000 times. Can you imagine listening to the same story about how wonderful your father is 1,000 times? But I don't know, maybe I'm into pain. Um,
And did
but
he ever acknowledge what a misery he was? Excuse my throat.
here's the type of man he was. I went to his nursing home and I told him, I can't take the election that's coming up. I can't be here in the United States for the election. All right. So my wife and I are heading to London. All right. And we're going to watch it from London. And I'll be back in 2 weeks. Now, I told him that. I told him that at least 5 times. I left, came back 10 days later, went to the nursing home. He was in the cafeteria. I walked in and he said, "You're alive." I said, "Yes." "I thought you were dead." And I went, "No, Dad, I told you I was in London." Oh, okay. "Well, did I tell you?" And then he just went on. I mean, he thought I was dead. All
Wow.
right. Um, I think because of him is the reason that I love Chekhov so much, who I think is, a brilliant writer, and it's the only writer I'll go back and see a Chekhov play over and over and over again because I get so much from it.
It's
But
interesting you mentioned this because you adapted Uncle Vanya. Did you Do
Oh
you know
yeah.
Russian? Did you do it from a Russian thing, or did you
Oh,
adapt a translation
oh
or
no,
bring
no.
it in English?
I completely faked my way through it. I fed it into a word translator and went from there. But I also wrote a play called it's published by Hoyer, Seagulls in a Cherry Tree, which is a comedy about two Hollywood screenwriters who have been hired by Walt Disney to rewrite The Cherry Orchard into a movie for Mel Gibson. Um,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. So I've had fun with that, and I've directed Chekhov a number of times. But yeah, I think he is absolutely brilliant. And strangely, some of my plays are now being done in Russia.
Ooh. All right.
Yes, one of my comedies has had like 5 productions now in Russia. I don't know why. It's really strange. Comedy doesn't go over borders, you know?
Right. Yeah, you would think not.
Yeah. And my comedies have been done in Russia, South Korea, Spain. They've been done in, oh my
How are
gosh,
these countries find? Are they published? How are people in
they're
all these other
published.
countries? That's how. Yeah.
Yeah, they're published, or they've won some big award. Two of them that are big overseas were finalists in the Eugene O'Neill, and they go to that site and try to find those, and then contact me and say they want to do it, or they find them on my website. But I've had now about 35, 40 productions overseas, and sometimes I've seen them. I saw one in South Korea, and it was very strange to hear it in Korean and people laughing. Um, I, 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 I don't know. I don't know why that works, but for some reason, it works in foreign countries. So, and I've been done in Israel. So,
Oh, now so did you get to go?
yeah.
Did you see the?
No, it was years ago, and I was so poor. It was 30 years ago, and I just didn't they
So
didn't
what?
offer, and I didn't have the money.
Are you able now to make a reasonable living as a writer? I know you're married. You probably have a double income thing going on, but how do you make it? Because you haven't been on Broadway. You don't really have a
No,
New York credit. So we
I
wonder
I think
where's
then
the living
I
coming
think
from?
then
Yeah.
the living. Well, one thing was I wrote in Hollywood and writing for sitcoms.
Oh, right, of course.
Really,
Yeah.
yeah, I wrote for sitcoms, and I sold a movie to Ron Howard. He never made it. I sold another movie, or at least it was optioned to Filmways. They never made it. But that I was smart and saved a lot of money. And then I was a professor for a while.
Oh,
And now plays do pretty good, but unlike every playwright who's listening to this knows that you don't make money at it. I think the best year I've ever had as a playwright is around $12,000 in royalties, which is, you're living in a river, a van down by the river. But my
you don't even
textbooks have
can't even
done,
afford the government cheese, and they're giving away free.
yeah,
That's
yeah, I
how
know.
poor. Yeah.
That's how poor I was. Yes, but then I've saved very well. I have successful textbooks, and those are cash cows.
By the way, we should
Um,
mention one of them is in its fifth, count them five, fifth edition of the
Fifth
Art
edition
of Theater. Plus,
just
you also
came
have a
out.
screenwriting book called Screenplay Winning the Picture. Oh, you do
Oh,
have
writing the picture.
I'm
But
sorry.
I've also got a playwriting book here. Well,
Ooh,
yeah,
ooh.
I got that. And what else have I done here? I've written novels. I don't know.
Okay.
Every writer's got them right there. There's a funny one about academia that I wrote. And gosh, there's so many of them over here. So I do pretty well. And I've published, 12, 13 plays. Um, and I just managed money very, very well. And now I made it that I don't have to work.
Oh, well,
So,
Mazel.
yeah.
Was New York ever on your horizon and or you went to the West Coast, you wrote for, I mean, this man wrote for Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and My Two
Couple
Dads. I mean, shows
episodes.
you've heard
Yeah.
of. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I don't know about My Two Dads. Anybody knows? It's an old Paul Reiser show. I guess
Yeah,
it was
Greg
pretty.
Evigan. Yeah.
Yeah, Greg Evigan. That's exactly right. Yeah. No, I went to New York when I was very young and studied playwriting under Lanford Wilson and Milan Stitt at the Circle Rep Theater. And My wife joined me, and we were so poor. We lived in a transient hotel on the corner of 77th and Broadway. Sometimes we didn't eat. We were so poor. Then I ended up going to film school at UCLA and worked in Hollywood for a while, got tired of that, and moved to a cabin in Colorado in the middle of nowhere. And then a huge fire came and came within 2 miles of it, almost burned it down. And so we moved into Denver. Now we're moving again. We're gonna move into another location that's quieter. And
Also in
it's
Colorado, though, because Colorado is gorgeous.
also I love Cork. Yeah, I'm a Colorado boy. But the other day, my wife and I sat down and added up all the places we've lived, from dorms. We used to own a beach house down in Gulf Shores, Alabama. My wife's from Alabama, and every place we had lived for more than 4 months. All right, so if I was acting in a summer theater, that counted as a place, and we lost count at 37 different places. So I have jumped all over the place. I'm not very good at staying still, and I don't know. I think I'm constantly running away, trying to find the home. I was writing a friend of mine the other day that I don't have the front porch that you go home to for Thanksgiving. And I'm so jealous of people who have a home that is waiting for them, no matter how the world changes. And I have never had that. I've never had that home. And so I'm constantly searching. I guess it's, again, the writer's life.
Well, if the cabin hadn't burned down, that might have been.
Well, it didn't burn. It came close.
Almost. I'm sorry, almost burned. Yeah.
Yeah, we were evacuated. But yeah, so I don't know. I do what I do. I write the books. I write the novels. I've had about 350 productions now, which is not bad. I'm not writing as much in the playwriting anymore. I'm thinking of one right now that I might write, but sort of taking a break from it.
I don't want to say the word gravitating because I love theater, but why novels? And also, we'll mention that you have a blog on Substack that we want to talk about, but why prose and fiction more so now than theater?
Well, I got to tell you, I think one of the most difficult transitions is playwright to fiction. And that goes the other way. When I used to teach, I was teaching an MFA class in playwriting for novelists, and they could not get it. They couldn't understand how to do exposition, because in a novel, it's so easy. You just state it. In a play, the character's got to state their exposition, and they've got to have a reason for that to come up right now. They need something. There's a reason they're saying it. And maybe it was my lack of ability as a professor, but I couldn't get through to them on how to do it. And so I just one day started saying, let's go to this other form. And it's so freeing. My God, novel writing is so much easier than playwriting.
Oh, wow.
Screenwriting is easier than playwriting. Playwriting is the most difficult thing because all you've got is a limited number of scenes, a limited location, just a few characters. And the rules are so tight that if you can write a play and do it well, I think you can write just about anything.
So what is your regimen? You must, because especially when you're working on longer form now, on a daily or every other day, but you get up, when do you write? How much do you write? Do you have a quota, a goal? Do you just wait for inspiration or perspiration? What is it?
I write every day. I was studied, my genes were studied at the University of California, San Francisco, because there's some long name for it, but the short name is superlark. And superlarks are people who wake up at ungodly hours in the morning. And I've been this way since I was a kid. Because when I was a kid, it was the only time
you woke up in
quiet.
Terror because you thought your father was going to blow his head off. But okay, but other than that,
I wake up automatically, fully awake and ready to go every morning between 2 and 3:30.
Huh.
And that's what a superlark does. It's quiet, and
It's
I
a
don't
great
have a
writing
social.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a social life because going to the theater requires that I stay up like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and I automatically get out of bed 4 hours later. Without fail, I haven't woke up to an alarm clock in 50 years. I pop out of bed. I slept in this morning 3:45.
So do you ever get writer's block, or it's all you've always got something? If you're not working on this, you work on something else, and you get back to the other thing, or no? It looks like
Now, I
no,
generally have
never.
one project at a time, but
Yeah.
I don't believe in writer's block. I don't think it exists. Yeah, a writer's block only means you're not asking the right question. And this is one of the problems with playwriting today, because a lot of people are being taught to express their feelings, which is important. But playwriting, and this is condemned, what I'm about to say, structure.
Oh, yeah.
And if you go back to the rules of structure and start asking questions about your script with the rules of structure, what the question does is cause creativity because you got to answer this particular question. And so I was, because I went to film school at UCLA, structure was drilled into me. And the rules of structure and how to write a good screenplay and how to write a good play were drilled into me so strong that anytime I don't feel like writing, I immediately just start asking myself questions. And I generally write from 3:33, whatever, until about 8:39.
Wow. Yeah.
And then I take a shower. And I take a very long shower. And in the shower, 5 new ideas come. And thereby I'm ready for tomorrow.
And what do you do the
Yeah.
rest of the day? Sleep? No, or no. Maybe
I
you have
don't
to
know.
deal with email and who wants to produce your play, and if you have, I don't know if you have an agent, but all that sort of thing.
Yeah, got an agent. Lately, though, I've really discovered trying to write novels as because I've only been published by two tiny publishers, and now I think I've got a contract with a little bit bigger publisher for my third. But I have learned that good writing doesn't matter anymore. Truly good matter writing,
What?
not in
Wait.
novel writing. You have to have a following. And what I've discovered is, they'll email me and say, "We loved your novel; it was great, but you only have 2,000 Facebook followers." And this new one is doing the same. They're saying you've got to build up your social media. So now during the day, I'm spending a ridiculous amount of times trying to educate myself on social media, so that I have a whole bunch of supposed followers who will read my novels. I think it's a really totally fucked up world.
Yeah, please, that word is fine by me.
It's
Stoked up, if you want to. Yeah.
yeah,
Let's be,
capitalism.
actually, since you bring that up,
Yeah,
one of your latest blogs on, you have a Substack thing that
yes,
is called Theater and the Art of Life. So you're still writing a
yeah,
bit about theater, at least, if you're not writing
yeah,
plays. But it's this marvelous essay that you wrote about AI
yeah,
and the inevitability of it and how to not certainly not welcome it, but to circumvent it a little bit, even as we accept it inevitably. Can you please give us a little spiel about AI writing for theater and for film and for anything?
Well, I think AI is going to become the next God. Humans have always wanted an omniscient being to tell them what to do, and I think AI is going to do that. In the near future, there'll be no need for playwrights. The director will hit a button, state how many cast members they need, what the story they want, what identities they want, what the moral is going to be. They'll hit a button and it will absolutely generate it in a matter of seconds. I tested this. I took one of my comedies, I cut the last 20 pages from it, fed it into AI, and said, write the ending. And it was okay. But what shocked me was it wrote jokes that made me laugh. Now you have to understand, being a comedy writer, we suffer from comedy burnout. And you really got to be funny to make me laugh because I've heard them all. And I'm reading this and I started laughing at what AI had written. And that's when I realized that theater could be in trouble And that's why we need a national campaign right now. All theaters joining together with a massive campaign stating that theater is the anti-AI art. We make announcement from the stage, left and right. We talk about, this and that, and who's our sponsor. But what we need to do is start telling everyone saying, theater, the anti-AI art. Look at all the kids who are now, booing their graduation speakers who talk about AI. Make something
Yeah,
on
well,
AI
they're
and you'll get
booing, and yet
condemned.
they're using it in their essays.
Exactly.
Well,
But if theaters right now started going, we are the anti-AI art, and this was in all of their advertisements, and they started talking about it in interviews, it could get a little bit of traction, and we could start pulling in that younger audience. I go to see my plays, and I am often the youngest person in the audience. We've lost the young people. And if we started saying we are the anti-AI art, we might get them back.
except half the playwrights are going to be using, surreptitiously. They're going to have to sign a disclosure thing. I did not use AI in writing this play.
I did not.
Well, except
Yeah.
for structure. Except it gave me an outline, but I wrote the rest. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's quite amazing. And I do worry. Actors, I say in the essay, are pretty safe until holograms come on. But, ABBA's doing that now. Designers are in serious trouble
But
because
let me
lighting
ask you.
designs can all be done now by AI
Fair,
in seconds.
but fair question. You wrote the play. You chopped off the last 20 pages. You fed it through AI, and AI. Would you incorporate the best jokes from
No.
AI into if it worked? No, that
No,
would
because
be cheating or what?
they were funny, but they weren't me. I've got a pretty dark sense of humor, and I think playwrights. When I was a screenwriter, when I was working in television, they would rewrite what I wrote, and you go, "Yeah, I got paid really well for doing this, so yeah, take it. You own the copyright. You do what you want." Playwrights were paid crap. All we have is the pride of ownership. And I got to tell you, I would sit with the other writers when I was on sitcoms and watch them tape the episode, and the audience would laugh. And I'd go, it's my episode, my name's on it. And yet the joke was written by John over there because it's group written, after the first draft. But when I sit in the audience and they laugh at my play, that's my joke. I did it. I had the sense of humor to make 300 people in a theater laugh. And I got to tell you, that's better than anything. That is really, that's a high.
Now, let me ask you, William Missouri Downs.
Yes.
Speaking of being on a high, do you have a favorite play that you've written? It could be a long one, could be one of the short ones.
Well, I don't know. I that play I mentioned earlier, Seagulls in a Cherry Trail. I really love that one. I wrote a play that's no longer produced anymore that I really loved. It was called The Exit Interview. It got a rolling premiere from the National New Play Network, but it was a comedy about a school shooting. So that's dead now.
Yeah, no. I'm surprised it was ever, with all due respect, the topic. Yeah.
It had about 20 productions, and then theaters started going, oh no, we can't do this. Well, one of the problems is theater has become scared. I think theaters in this country are terrified because now, I remember years ago, they do a play of mine and someone would walk out and the artistic director would come to me and say, we lost so-and-so. And I'd say, I'm so sorry. And they go, that's okay. We got plenty of others. If they're going to act like that, we're not interested. Now theaters are terrified. Someone's going to start a campaign. Someone's going to write something. I have never seen so many safe plays in my entire life. If I see one more musical based on a Hollywood movie, I'm going to blow my brains out.
Like almost father like son. Don't do that. But yeah.
I know. Well, he never did.
Yeah.
But we don't. Theater has gone safe, And that is its demise.
Okay, so besides the school shooting thing that you wrote, what is the most dangerous risk-taking play that you ever wrote?
With a good friend, I wrote a musical called Fascism the Musical. And it had, Ayn Rand singing in it. We had the trickle down economics song, the socialism polka.
I mean,
And
that
that was
sounds
actually,
politically charged, but not offensive, or but not,
well,
radical.
there were
Yeah.
a university that I was working at the time produced it. And the threats started coming in. We had to have police officers in the back of the theater during the performances, just because,
Because
So that was probably the most dangerous, and we made terrible fun of the NRA, um, and basically said the country was going towards fascism. And I'm not talking about fascism in the sense of a dictatorship. I'm talking about the economic sense of fascism, and that is that the government works with huge corporations and becomes their best friend. And that's where
never
we are now.
happened. Never happened. Come on.
We're living it.
Science
We're
fiction,
living
my
it.
friend. No. No, by the way, we're talking about plays and things. There's a play
Yes.
that you did not write. However, you
Yes.
are directing, and it's by someone you
Yes.
know closely, and it is happening June 4th and June 6th. It's a play called Forgiving Alabama. Is it
Yes.
comedy? What is it? What is that?
It's comedy. My wife and I been together forever. We've been together for 49 years, since children practically. But she's from Alabama and had a wild childhood as well. So she wrote a little 50-minute one woman show about her childhood and what it was like growing up in the beauty shops in Alabama and the charm lessons she was forced to take, and eventually running off with a crazy playwright.
Who was that?
And I wonder who that was. So we're staging it during the Denver Film Festival, and I'm
Or
directing
Denver
her.
Fringe? Or is it
Denver, that's what I meant. Sorry,
Yeah.
old. Denver Fringe Festival. There'll be two performances, and I'm just gently being her sounding board and directing for it. So
Yeah, I mean, it's like, are you able? Yeah, you've known her for 40. Now you've been married 49 years. So when you're directing
45.
her, are you? Does she take good direction? Are you, a little more whatever in directing her than you are with other people, or you can
Uh,
tell her everything?
I can tell her everything. I mean, we've written the Introduction to Theater book together. We've written 3 plays together. So we're used to being intimate. But with any actress, you've got to, you got to keep them safe. And that's one of the most difficult things about directing now is how to keep them safe and yet challenge them at the same time. I think a lot of places now, particularly at universities, are keeping the young actors safe, and nothing's happening. So you've got to push them. You've got to challenge them, and that's a difficult tightrope to walk these days. But with her, it's not a problem. I just put a glass of wine in her and then give her notes.
That sounds like a third date. But well, speaking of, first of all, I don't know how old you are, but you must be at least
You,
70, and I do not see that. How old are
I,
you?
I'll be 71 in 2 months.
McMuslin, I mean, no, dude, you look
Yeah,
barely 58. I'm telling you,
yeah,
Mazel on this, and
yeah.
also,
Well, I'll
yeah,
tell you the key to that. And the key is a good diet and getting away from crazy people. I didn't look quite this
sorry,
good when I was around crazy, insane people. And Peloton. I'm a
oh,
dedicated Peloton person.
really?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
interesting. Then you should write a play cycle. That's a bad joke, right? That's a really
That's a
terrible
bad
joke.
one. That's really bad. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we are
But yeah.
wrapping up our marvelous
Okay.
interview with William Missouri. Wait, I got one more question.
Okay.
Don't be
Okay.
shutting off so quick. Hold on, damn it.
Yes. All right.
Um,
All right.
But we want to remind people that, first of all, they can read much more about him at his own website, WilliamMissouriDowns.com, spelled just like the whole thing sounds. You can get his books, The Art of Theater 5th edition, as well as Screenplay Writing the Picture. And if you happen to be in Colorado, they're doing the Denver Fringe. And on June 4th and June 6th, he's directing his wife's play, Forgiving Alabama. But before we let you go, so being a playwright and having written a beloved, obviously, textbook about what makes your textbook different from, with all due respect, 100 other books about how to write a play. I mean, obviously, you're a structuralist for sure, but what else?
So we're talking about naked playwriting.
Okay, not the art. Right, naked playwriting. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Naked playwriting. What makes it different?
Yeah.
I think what makes it different is I've had enough time to do several editions. And so the new edition, which is the second edition, there was actually 3, but it changed publishers, so now it's actually the second. I think what makes it different is I don't go into the feel good, what's your motivation? Where are you coming from? Think about what you want to say. I let you take care of that. You're what you want to write. I figure the writers got that, and if they don't have that, they shouldn't be writers. So now I go into technique, and it is a book full of techniques. I think techniques are things that you reject. You throw away. You say, oh, can I use that? Oh, that one I can use. This one I can't use. All right. So I was talking to a friend of mine who went to NYU theater, and I think it was NYU, and she said in her 2 years there, they never once talked about structure. Not once. It was all about feelings and expressing it. Well, your feelings and your expressions are boring. All right.
Not mine, but everybody else's. Yeah.
Yes, they're boring.
Oh, wait. Yeah.
Tells the run-on story. What we're not teaching and what this book does is how to tell a story. And then you, the writer, decide what you want to use and what you don't want to use. But if a playwright doesn't have a bag of tricks, and that goes for all writers, if they don't understand the form, all right, then they're going to write boring plays. And there are a lot of boring plays out there.
Well, you're not writing them, William Missouri Downs. You're writing plays. You've got that novel coming out. By the way, the next novel is going to be called Almost Picasso, which sounds like a fun thing. Speaking of AI, it's all about...
Yeah, it's all about AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about a family of artists. The world is being taken over by AI, and we don't need artists anymore. And what happens to them? I think it's a very funny novel, but it's really facing what artists are today, and it should be out in 2027.
And available on Amazon and all the
it's Heresy, which is part of. They're part of another one. I forgot. What can I say? I'm real bad at this. But they distribute through Simon & Schuster, so we should be able to get it out there. So a little publisher, but I'm stepping up little by little.
And a social media thing, remember that he has a Substack called Theater and the Art of Life, which you can easily find and read his essays. And then you'll want to read his plays, and then you'll want to do his plays and keep William Missouri Downs. He's gotten 350 productions around the world. Make it 700 by the next time we see you. And that should be next year. Halabai.
Please.
William Missouri Downs. Right. Do you have a Jewish name? Did you ever get a Jewish name because you found out you were, or no?
Oh no, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Will you make one up for me?
Maybe, let's see, something from Missouri. Mishmash, maybe? No, that's not that.
Oh, Mishmash.
No, I'll think about it.
Yeah, send me one. Maybe I'll use it as a hashtag.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a deal. William.
Okay.
Shalom to you, and thank you so much.
Shalom. Thank you very much.